Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw for Insider Travel Report, and I'm here with Jim Warren, who's the Director of Business Development USA at Anderson Vacations. Now, we've been working with Anderson Vacations for quite some time, but we wanted to give Jim a chance to really showcase what Anderson Vacations is. It's based up in Canada, but it offers tours all around the Rockies. It's obviously is a strong point, but we're going to talk to Jim about that and a whole lot more on Insider Travel Report. Give us a little bit of the history of Anderson Vacations. How long has it been in business and who owns it?
Sure. Well, just very quickly, 1992, a young couple by the name of Dave and Lorraine Anderson bought a couple of buses up in Edmonton.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden they decided they have to figure out how to fill them. So they started a little tour company. They hired a lady by the name of Pauline Marshall, who was a friend of theirs, and she started groups going pretty much, day trips and then little further aside within Canada, then down to Reno and various trips like that. They got tired of it pretty quickly. And so Pauline Marshall and her husband Jim bought the company, but
Oh, okay.
kept the name Anderson, which is sort of why the name is still there. And over the next 10 years, they grew that company very quickly with groups. It was kind of the era of group travel that
Sure.
you brought your friends and was primarily a seniors or mid seniors group. Um, all along that, their son Corey, while he was growing up, did everything from cleaning the buses to being reservations to doing everything. And in 2003, when he graduated from university, he decided to open an office in Calgary. 2004, he met a beautiful young lady from New Zealand. They moved back to Calgary and they took over the company, the management of it, and started at that point, it had just been customized tours, group
Right.
tours. But they brought in a whole new concept of FIT, independent travel, literally from coast to coast to coast. And it was the real big expansion of the company. 2005, they bought the company outright from their parents and really started on a major expansion program. It was also a time where there was lots of money with the state or the provinces and the Dominion, provincial, not only provincial, but domestic tour operators, retail and whatnot. So they created a marketing campaign that at one point we had a catalog that was 110 pages. We were
Wow.
actually bigger than Colette. And it was the travel agents loved it. The problem was it didn't really sell a lot of things. It was
Yeah.
great information. Gradually, that program morphed into some other things. In 2005, they realized that the summer market was the big market for Canada. So they also brought in South Pacific, Australia, New Zealand,
Mhm.
South Pacific Islands, which was Karen's specialty. She was from a large company in New Zealand.
Right.
So that kind of balanced out our project. At that point, then they spent a lot more time going after the travel agents, consortia, because up until that point, it had been pretty much a direct business.
Right.
And the company just kept growing, but their hearts were actually in New Zealand. And Corey tried to run the company, or did run the company very well from New Zealand for a couple of years. And then in 2015, he sold it to a family trust in Vancouver,
Yeah.
and it's been owned and operated by the Boycott Family Trust since. And that company also owns a couple of other tour companies, an escort company, a tour director company, and some charter boats in Vancouver.
Oh, interesting
And
story. It sounds like a great story from how you go from two buses to the current day. Now, again, you mentioned the destinations. You're really focused on Canada, Alaska, U.S. to extent, and then South Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, right?
correct. And really, our main product is Canada. We do a little bit in Alaska. We did a little West Coast US for groups, but the main focus is the Canadian product. And then off season is Australia, New Zealand. It's a real nice balance.
It does sound like one. And now I understand you talk, it's not just buses too. You have about four categories of tours, right?
Yeah, well, we looked at how we were selling our product. I don't know, 10 years ago, and decided that we really had some things that were unique. We call our tours of distinction. Really, they're our small group tours,
Right.
and we get a chuckle out of the fact that all the big guys are now discovering small groups, and we've been running them for 20 years.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
The small groups is all the thing now, right?
Yeah, well, it used to be that a small group was because you didn't successfully fill your big group.
That's right.
Now it's a specialty, but our tours of distinction are small groups, and they're very uniquely different. They go into the more remote places like Haida Gwaii on the west coast of Vancouver, up into the north, the Aurora programs. We have a program that goes all the way up to Tuktoyaktuk, an Inuit focus program. And so those are usually 12, maximum 12. Our custom groups are our escorted tours that are more traditional, 56 passenger coach, pretty traditional itineraries. But the difference with those is we only ever carry 24 passengers. So you basically have your own seats, and it's quite a bit different from 45 or 50 people in a big coach. Um, our FIT is our independent travel, and that's over 50% of our total business. And then our customized groups, we do a lot of white label groups, especially out of the US into Canada. So those are, our four major groups that are styles of travel that we have.
No,
And
so
then within that style, of course, we do rail and self drive and pretty much everything else.
well, rail is very big these days, and I know you have some great rail journeys up there in Canada, especially. Now, how much of your source market is from the US today versus Canada and maybe other markets?
So 50% from Canada, about 40% from the US,
Okay.
and the next 10% out of the South, out of Australia, New Zealand, that area,
Okay, so that's it. So US is a significant part of your business these days.
especially for groups. That's our biggest area. Although, in the last 2 years, we've started, we are involved in the major consortia. So we've started marketing a lot more in the US to the US travel agents than we have in the past.
Yeah, no, you've been working with us on that, and hopefully we've been turning
Yeah.
out some of them. That's
Yeah. You're doing a
now
good job for us.
that's it. Now, what exactly is the Anderson difference? I mean, you mentioned there are a lot of similarities. I was thinking of the way they started. It sounds like a lot of other tour operators, the way they started. And why should travel advisors book with Anderson today compared with other operators? What's your secret sauce?
Well, for starters, we're kind of the general store of travel in that we do both FIT, escorted groups, small groups, as well as custom itineraries. So you can kind of come to us for everything. And
Mhm.
one of the things that the travel agents like about us is that they don't necessarily get a lot of groups, but when they get them, for us, a group is really anything over 8 people.
Mhm.
So we can switch it over to our group department quickly and get them a variety of different itineraries. We can provide the full service of, what do you want? How many meals? Is it a culture? Is it a family? So I think the main thing for us is that we cover all areas of travel, really. About the only thing we don't do skiing and we don't do hunting, but pretty much everything else is there.
Fantastic. So you got a really soup to nuts experience. And also, I believe you got some very experienced guides that are running these in your small groups and larger classic groups, right?
Yeah, and I think all good companies we would always do the same thing and say it's our tour directors that make a difference. And we've had people that have been with us for a long time. I escort some of our tours, and I've been escorting tours for over 50 years. So now we get to the point where if I'm that much older than the clientele, I have to think about it. But um, we love to keep our tour directors busy, and it obviously having really experienced people, is something we learned from Arthur Talk, actually. They've always had that expertise, and we try to make sure that's where we're at with our tour directors.
And then I also understand you're pretty all inclusive too, the entire tour, right?
Yeah, I mean, our escorted tours and our tours of distinction always include at least 2 meals a day. They are fully inclusive in terms of all the attractions. Anything that's in that itinerary is included. There's very few opportunities to get outside of the cost price of the tour, especially now with custom tours. If we have somebody that says we don't want all the meals in, then we can customize it. But generally, our escorted tours and our tours of distinctions are pretty fully inclusive.
That's great. And pay one price and you get most of everything there. Now, what you're working here to the travel advisors here in the US, what resources do you offer travel advisors to really help them better sell Anderson Vacations? And I understand you
Well,
have a travel advisor, travel agent portal.
yeah, I mean, we weren't very good at this, and one of the big things that kept coming back. I mean, I've been with the company for 16 years, and it's taken a while for us to get the message, but we needed to provide much more information. Our website was huge, but it was so complicated that you really had to know what you were looking for. So some of the things that we've done recently, we've really updated the website so that it's much more user friendly for the travel agents. It also gives them a portal that allows them to go in and see all the itineraries, see all not only the itineraries but also destination information.
Mhm.
And that, especially for the U.S. agents, that's really important. We kind of assume Canadian agents know about their country, but that's a big assumption too.
Well, I think it's a big assumption for the US agents that they know about their country. So that's another issue. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one of those are two things that we've really focused on. And in fact, they're things that we are constantly moving on. One of the things that we're looking at starting in September will be a monthly educational program where we'll pick specific regions. We'll do some of the topics ourselves, but we'll bring in our DMO partners and suppliers. For example, Rocky Mountaineer is a we're great partners with them, and we love working with them to cooperate in terms of how we integrate their product into a more extensive program. So, and Via Rail as well. I mean, we've had great partnerships with both of them.
No, that's fantastic. And rail travel is, and I love Rocky Mountaineer. I've not tried it, but I've been on the train a few times just
Oh,
give a shot, just to try it out for a second or two. But I
yeah.
still
I'm
have.
actually just heading off in the next week and doing one of their one in a lifetime trips that goes from Jasper to Kamloops and then back to Banff, and that they had to change their scheduling because of FIFA in Vancouver
Oh, right.
dominating all the
They
hotels.
don't
So
want to get near Vancouver, right?
yeah, so that'll be a kind of a one in a lifetime. And I just also did their Canyonlands program, which we'll start
That's the
selling.
US one. Yeah, that they actually rebranded that. It's a
Yeah.
good product. But I'm glad you're working with them and have some great success with that. And in terms of the hotels that you offer as part of these tours, what are we talking about? Like,
So we tend to be middle of the road for most of what we do. If you know properties in Banff, there's really only two categories. There's Fairmont and there's everything else. And so we do some work with Fairmont when we touch up, say, with Gold Leaf for Rocky Mountaineer. But I would say the majority of our business comes in that middle level series of hotels, whether it's Banff or Jasper, Vancouver, Calgary, the big cities. We tend to go a little higher scale where they have a better range of hotels. So we would do probably 3.5 to 4 star in the major cities, but in the resort areas like Banff and Jasper, you're kind of limited to really two different hotels, and so we pick the best of the middle.
got it. Okay, so you're this. No, it's a good product, and you want to stay in a nice hotel. Doesn't always have to be the 5 star, but
Well, sometimes you have to ask people, do you want an extra day or do you want to stay in the Chateau Lake Louise where you're going to sleep and you could spend an extra day and be down the in the valley. So
no, that, and you're absolutely right because it is a beautiful part of the world. Now, is there anything else you want to tell we have about 125,000 travel advisors out there. Anything else you want to tell them about Anderson Vacations today?
sure. Well, first of all, thank you for the business. For those of the 125,000 that give us business, We do appreciate it. We have a couple of new things coming on where we've also heard sort of a call for fam trips.
Okay.
We kind of stepped away from it for a little bit because we weren't really controlling it well, but you'll see a big schedule. We've just run 5 fam trips. We're running 3 more in June, and we'll have another whole segment coming out because we're finding that they are really very important for us. We're going to introduce an online booking facility for a limited number of our FIT product, and that'll be kind of in a test mode starting in September.
Okay.
Our product's pretty complicated, and we're not that big a company from the technology point of view to make it take advantage of it. But we do have probably 15 itineraries that are booked over and over and over, and those will become online available probably in September. Other than that, we're continuing to revise the website and try and knock it down a little bit. And we're looking at introducing some new programs. There's a big push right now in Canada for Indigenous cultural programs. Right. We're introducing some more of those. And we've also found that a real niche for us is Northern Canada, the Aurora programs and that sort of thing.
Aurora, yeah, well, that's amazing. Everyone wants to do that these days.
Yep, yeah, we just need them 50 more hotels in Whitehorse or Yellowknife, and then of course it'll probably spoil it. So we have a program we're looking at that I experimented with a couple of years ago for igloos. The problem is if you sleep with your face up at night and you breathe out, you tend to start melting the igloo. So
well, I have slept in an igloo, and it wasn't always the most comfortable thing. It was an experience for a few hours, and then I guess I got a little cold, and I said, okay, I've experienced it. Now it's time to go back to my bed.
Yeah.
Some people love it. It's amazing, and it is something you should experience. I did it in Antarctica once, but
oh well, then you have the full experience then.
I did. So that's great. So you have those new programs. You have obviously you got the portal. Where can travel advisors go to learn more about Anderson Vacations? What's your URL?
So the best thing is just to go online, andersonvacations.ca. That'll lead them to everything. It'll lead them to the agents portal where they can, all they have to do is really just register. And once they're registered, they have full access to that. Of course, we still, we like to say you don't get a recording at Anderson. You'll always get a live person.
Right.
Well, dead people are hard to answer, but live person there. And they are, still the biggest resource we have for information, especially for independent travel. So it's pretty straightforward. Go into the website and follow instructions.
Fantastic. Well, Jim, I want to thank you for taking the time to tell us a little bit about Anderson Vacations. We've been writing about you and we've been working with you, but never got a chance to really sit down and talk about the whole company like this. And hopefully we're giving our advisors a better idea of what you offer. Sounds like if you want to go to Canada, if you want to go, obviously in the other seasons to go to Australia, New Zealand, Pacific, you're the place to go, and even a few places in the U.S. as you were talking about, and certainly, the ones you described in terms of the rail journeys, the Northern Canada experiences, it sounds like a very unique opportunity.
Well, yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. And I got to tell you, I just found a brochure the other day from a company called Johansson Royal Tours 1972,
Wow.
which is where I started. And the Rockies tour that we currently sell for $3,000 was $385 in those days. So we've come a long way.
Well, you have come a long way, and that would be bargain today. That's for sure.
And it's the identical itinerary. Nothing has changed.
I don't think we're going to get that kind of deal, and you just want to do an anniversary trip. But yeah, no, I mean, what you're talking about, that price is a pretty good price that you offer for that kind of trip. But again, thank you again, Jim, and hopefully we'll talk soon about new things that are coming online.
Well, thank you. I appreciated being here. Cheers.
I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.